You've already built the whole life in your head: the office, the city. The moment someone asks how it began and you tell the story perfectly, the turning point, the quiet decision, the day everything shifted. You've rehearsed it. You know exactly how it sounds. It feels that real, and yet, nothing has moved. No plan written down. No first step taken. Not even a single search. Just the dream, sitting exactly where you left it, untouched and somehow still glowing, filed under someday, waiting for a version of you that keeps not showing up. Here's what almost nobody says out loud, not the productivity coaches, not the morning routine evangelists: the thing keeping you still is almost never laziness. It's not that you don't care, it's that you care so deeply, so completely, that moving feels like a risk you're not ready to take. You care too much to find out what happens if you actually try. That's the trap. And it's one of the most human traps there is. Most conversations about motivation start with discipline, time management, habits. And those things matter, but they're pointing at the wrong problem entirely, because what's happening inside the mind of someone who dreams in vivid detail and does absolutely nothing goes much deeper than willpower. Let's start with something that will probably surprise you. The more vividly and emotionally you imagine your future success, the more real it feels. The more detail you pour into it, the less motivated your brain becomes to actually pursue it. Psychologist Gabrielle Ettingen studied this extensively. She found that positive fantasy, the kind where you close your eyes and emotionally inhabit the dream, causes the nervous system to relax. Not energize. Relax. Studies measuring physiological responses showed that people who engaged in positive future visualization actually experienced drops in blood pressure and reported lower energy compared to those who didn't visualize at all, in a measurable, physical sense. Your brain begins to register the reward before you've done a single thing to earn it. Energy drops. Drive follows: every vision board, every manifestation journal, every hour spent emotionally living inside an outcome that hasn't happened yet. It may be working directly against the momentum you're trying to build, but that only explains part of it. Because some people go further, they don't just visualize the dream. They become it. Think about someone, and maybe this is closer to home than you'd like to admit, who has been talking about the same dream for 2 years. Maybe 5. The business. The book. The move. The creative project. Everyone around them knows. And when they talk about it, it doesn't feel like performance. It feels completely real. Because to them, it is. But here's where things get psychologically serious. When a goal fuses with identity, when I want to become a writer quietly becomes I am a writer, I just haven't written anything yet, the act of actually starting becomes a threat, not a metaphorical threat. A psychological one. Because now, if you try and it doesn't go well, you haven't just failed at a task. You've received evidence about who you are. And the mind responds to that kind of threat the same way it responds to any danger: it avoids it. Researcher Peter Gollwitzer studied what happens when people publicly declare identity-linked goals, when the people around you already know about your dream. He found that social acknowledgement of the aspiration can create what functions like a premature sense of completion. Something in the brain relaxes its grip on the actual pursuit. The goal gets confirmed socially before a single step has been taken. You told everyone. They nodded. Somewhere inside you, that registered as progress. This connects to something researchers call self-handicapping, a pattern first documented by Edward Jones and Stephen Berglas in the late 1970s. The logic is quiet, mostly unconscious, and devastatingly effective. I haven't really started yet. So I can't really fail yet. The dream stays clean. The dreamer stays safe. The identity stays intact, and the cruelest part of all, it works. As a short-term emotional strategy, it absolutely works. You avoid the discomfort. You protect the self-image. The dream remains beautiful, specific, and entirely untested. There's a subtler version of this that's even harder to see. Some people don't avoid starting by doing nothing. They avoid it by doing everything except the actual thing: research, courses, podcasts about people who did the thing, New notebooks. Reorganized systems. More research. All of it genuinely feels like progress. All of it can be pointed to as evidence of effort. But preparation that never ends isn't preparation anymore. It's avoidance wearing a responsible disguise. Psychologist Pascal Sheeran's large-scale analysis of the gap between intention and behavior found something striking. Even a substantial increase in how much someone intends to do something produces only a modest change in whether they actually do it. For people with big dreams especially, it's not indifference. It's that the stakes feel enormous. Starting feels like placing everything on a single bet. So they don't start, and then the story shifts, so slowly, so quietly, you barely notice it happening. I'll begin when things settle down becomes I'm just not in the right headspace becomes honestly. I'm not even sure that path is right for me anymore becomes, years later, a strange, low-grade grief with no clear origin. Because there was no single moment of giving up. No decision. Just an endless series of not-yets that eventually became never. That grief is worth naming. It doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates. And it comes from carrying an unlived version of yourself around for long enough that you forget it isn't you. So what actually changes things? Ettingen's research points to a practice she calls mental contrasting, and it's neither positive visualization nor pessimism. Ettingen's research points to a practice she calls mental contrasting, and it's neither positive visualization nor pessimism. It means holding your desired outcome clearly in mind while simultaneously confronting the real, specific obstacles in front of you. Not as a thought experiment. As a genuine reckoning. What exactly is standing in the way? What has been standing in the way for months? Name it. Look at it directly. When people do this honestly, something shifts. The motivation that surfaces isn't borrowed from an imagined future. It has to come from the present. It's less exciting to feel, but it actually moves. The second thing, stop announcing the dream. Sharing goals isn't always harmful. But when the people around you already think of you as the person who is going to do that thing, a quiet part of your brain files it under finished. Keep it closer. Let the work make the announcement, and the dream probably needs to get smaller before it can get real. When the vision is that vast, no single action ever feels proportionate. So you take none. But one genuinely uncomfortable hour, spent on the one specific task you've been circling for 3 weeks, that's a distance you can actually cross. It doesn't make a good story at a dinner table. But it's the version that has a chance of actually happening. Underneath all of it, the identity fusion. The self-handicapping, the endless preparation loop, there is almost always just fear, an old, quiet, entirely human fear of being seen trying and coming up short. Of discovering that the gap between who you believe yourself to be and what you're actually capable of right now is uncomfortable to look at directly. Most people know this about themselves. They feel it. They just don't say it, because it's easier to explain inaction as circumstance than to sit with what it actually is. The dream hasn't gone anywhere, but somewhere along the way, it stopped being a direction, and became a destination you never bought a ticket for. You already know what the thing is. You probably thought of it in the first 30 seconds of this video. The only question left is whether you're going to keep thinking about it, or actually start.